Conversation this morning. Spice Baraza is here again this Wednesday. We're taking conversations out of the room, essentially bringing more conversation and bringing more people into the conversation in the room. And before we do that and get into talking with the folks who make up part of the Baraza this morning, also to welcome our guest who will guide this conversation with us to the room this morning. We're looking at the cost of living. We're looking at the economy, and we're looking at a growing economy and whether it is growing or shrinking wallets. Dr. David Kabata is an economist, and he joins us in the room this morning. Dr. Good morning.
Morning.
How are you doing?
I'm fine.
Karibu sana.
Yes.
Dennis Aseto is over here, but Dennis is going to share today's proverb as you welcome us to the show this morning. He'll share a proverb. It'll be interesting to hear what you would interpret that as.
Yeah, so our proverb today comes from Morocco. The country recently winners of chance, so that is an additional part of history to them. But our proverb goes as times change and those who don't change die. How would you interpret that?
I think that is one of the most important proverbs, especially now. And I think I would look at it with what is happening right now, especially when it comes to innovation and technological development, that if we continue doing things the same way, then we are going to get the results that we were getting, and we are going to get the results we were getting in a situation where we need to get different results. That I think that is my thinking, and I would interpret it that way, especially when I look at what is happening in the technological world.
I think we'll also take an interpretation from part of the audience here. So I think I'll start with the lady. Just introduce yourself, and if you can interpret that proverb for us, just stand and give us the interpretation.
Okay, good morning. My name is Mary Mudhoni. Mimi ni mwanabiashara mdogo tu. Lakini nimetoka mahali vile naweza sema ni kuwa economy yetu inaenda chini. The thing is, it is not okay at all. It is not okay. Kutoka mahali nimetoka from nilianza mahali down. Nilikuwa tu mwanasoko mdogo nikaanza na kibada. Sasa hii nimefika mahali nauza na wholesale. But I can tell you, naweza sema afadhali wakati nilikuwa kwa kibada sometimes back. Things are not working out well. Hatuko sawa.
Okay, we'll get into the conversation in a little bit, coming off of that proverb. And before we start to get an opportunity to talk to everybody, let's get an outlook from you, Dr. Kabata, in terms of what the economy looks like. We've been told the numbers. We have been told inflation is... now, sometimes we get confused. When inflation is up, we are not doing okay. When inflation is down, maybe we're doing a little bit better. But we've been told that inflation has come down quite some in Kenya, and that would then equate to the cost of living going down, or the situation in people's homes a lot better. Give us an outlook. We have been told from the Ministry we have been told actually from the Treasury that economy is doing much better. The reserves are much higher. The President himself has 10 billion shillings in reserves. It's good. It's a good thing. But what's the situation on the ground?
So thank you very much. I think when you look at our economy, if I look at the numbers, we have been told that the economy has been growing at about 5.3 to 5.6%. And I think one of the things that we need to understand, especially when you're talking about the economy, is to differentiate between economic growth and economic development. And I think that is where we go wrong, because when you talk about economic growth, we are talking about the increase of the output of the money that is being collected by the government, or what we are producing in the country. And I think that is what we have always been told, that the economy is growing. But that economic growth must translate to development. And I think that is where most of the African countries, Kenya being one of them, has a problem. Now, for the issue of the inflation, one of the questions that we need to ask ourselves is, why is it that the inflation is decreasing but the standard of living is very high? It is because that inflation decrease must be induced one. and it is induced by the central bank. And how does the central bank induce that inflation, low inflation? By mopping up all the money that is in the economy. And when they mop up all the money that is in the economy, what happens? Me and you, we will not have anything in our pocket, but the inflation will be low because the demand of goods and services in the market is decreasing. And the decrease of the demand and services of the goods in the market is not because of anything else, but because we people do not have money in our pocket. I think that is why you see a situation where the inflation is decreasing, but people do not have money in the pocket because the government mopped all the money from the people's pocket, and therefore we have low consumption. We have low consumption in the economy, and therefore the inflation is decreasing, but the standard of living is still high because also you have to look at the prices. When the inflation was decreasing, where are the prices? The prices were up.
So low inflation does not necessarily mean that the cost of goods will go down. Why?
Because, take an example, Uga was 100 shillings. The price went up to 200 shillings. And then it is stagnated there. So every month, the inflation is calculated every month. So the changes in the prices of the unga will remain the same, but the price had already increased from 100 to 200, it had doubled. So sometimes the inflation will go down, but if the prices of the commodities continue being very high because of other factors, like maybe the price of the most important, the imported goods like the petroleum products and all that, what is going to happen is that you'll have low inflation, but the prices, the standard of living will continue being high because the prices were already high when the inflation was decreasing, and the prices have remained the same. Yes.
Okay. So then looking into a situation where you want to understand this, because the people who crunch the numbers essentially have said, look, it is better. But the situation on the ground for many people is that you can't afford what you used to be able to afford. With 100 shillings today, it is incomparable what you can do with what you were able to do maybe a year ago with 100 shillings. What is it that creates that situation whereby I have 100 shillings today? It has not changed in the amount, but it has changed in value. What causes that?
I think we need to first of all understand what is inflation. And we can actually define it as persistent increase in the prices of commodity as the shilling or the currency loses value. So the currency is losing value, and that is why what you could have afforded with 1,000 shillings 1 year ago, you cannot be able to afford it now because the inflation is high. And also, the products of the most essential goods in the market have increased. Look at the price of a petroleum product. It has always been increasing in this country. Look at its impact in the economy. It is very high because it is actually the driver of the economy when it comes to the construction, to transport, and all these other areas. And therefore, if we have a situation where we have an induced inflation, decrease in inflation, where the government is trying to mop up money, one way in which you can reduce the circulation of money in the economy when it is very high is by the government selling treasury bills or borrowing from me and you. And if you look at what is happening right now, the government actually is borrowing a lot of money from the domestic market, me and you. When you talk about the domestic market, we are talking about me and you. In fact, I remember one of your newspaper was saying that even the individuals, me and you, are borrowing more than, are actually lending money to the bank more than, to the government more than the bank. Why? Because that is the only way we people can be able to make money that is left for us. And that is where you see everybody is trying as much as possible to take money to the government. So when we take all the money to the government, what happens to the business down here, our investment down here? It means that there is nothing else that is going to be going on because we have taken all money there. Just remember the other day we had 212 billion infrastructure board. We had 212 billion taken to the infrastructure board, and actually the government was not even able to absorb everything. 212 billion is being removed from the economy and being given to the government. And now the question is the government going to bring back that money through the infrastructures or the project development? If it does not do that, then the economy remains without money because the government is holding the money, and therefore the common mwananchi cannot be able to do anything because they do not have the money.
I mean, let's talk numbers, and allow me before we now move to hear now sentiments from the real people on the ground, because these numbers are supposed to be about the people, but they're separate from the people. There's a conversation around the GDP, and one of the indicators the Treasury CS has highlighted, he highlighted that we have 4.9% GDP growth. This was in the first quarter of this year, 2025, compared with 4.7% in the same period last year. So that's an improvement. So the projection then overall growth is 5.3% in 2025. Now, as glossy as these numbers appear on paper, there's a major challenge. The challenge here has been how to translate then this conversation of macroeconomics GDP numbers into real life impact at the micro level, where at least most Kenyans struggle daily to make ends meet. Kithure Kindiki, in a church on Sunday, he spoke about the situation of the economy, and was speaking to the congregants, and he said that the stronger shilling that we have currently is an indicator and proves the economy is improving and that more Kenyans can afford basic commodities. The question is this the reality? Are Kenyans affording more commodities because the shilling is stronger? And I guess that's the question.
That's the question that we then get to, because like you said, when you talk about the numbers, it's all about the people. Are the people able to afford commodities and services in the country? And here we have the people who deal in this sector on a daily basis. They would tell you, as compared to, say, 2022, as they were getting in, as compared to 2022, and now, is the situation any better? Is it worse? I would go with you, sir. Introduce yourself.
Good morning. I'm Masinde Jeremiah. A former boda and I'm a businessman running a kiosk. When I compare the year of 2022 and now, you know, things have not been the same. As we say, time is money. We see in our lifetime that we are still, I personally am still struggling, because I see the way the shilling was in the year 2022, and now for about a period of 2 or 3 years we are in 2025. I can say I could have returned back to 2022, but now we see we are going ahead, which means on my side things are becoming more worse, because the bills I used to do or to pay or to meet on 2022, right now I cannot do it. I've tried to avoid some certain things in life so that to reduce what I was doing in 2022. Now I dropped now the shop I'm running, because I started it in 2022. There are some certain commodities I've decided not to put them in my kiosk at Abahi there, because even people, they don't want to buy it. They are running away from it. If I tell them this is the price that I'm supposed to sell, they are running away from it, and they are saying, no, let me better use this one rather than this.
What are those commodities?
Now you know, when you have a kiosk, you sell everything. You know it's a shop. I used to sell the bread. I used to sell the commodities that are basic. Then I found out that someone will say, I'll rather save 3 shillings going to a certain supermarket than to buy to your kiosk. And I will ask that person, so I have used the fuel to transport that bread or to transport that soda. What about the 3 different shillings is what I'm getting as my profit? But for them, they will say, why do I buy rather than going to the supermarket? So I lose some certain commodities to my shop because of some 3 shillings that was my profit. So I decided to quit that.
All right, so let's
let
just
it go.
Okay, let's hear from anyone else in terms of how business is. You can just give us the microphone. Introduce yourself and tell us how the situation is. What differences have you seen in your shop? You're free to speak in English or Swahili, so don't struggle. Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, Dennis and Doko. I'm so happy and glad to see all of you this morning. My name is Pastor Mercy Promise Ngota. I'm an activist and I'm a business person. And at the same time, you've heard me say my title as a pastor. So I wish to concur with him, but in this kind of way, that what has basically happened in our economy, the price of the basic commodities, there are some of them that they have reduced, but at the same time, there are others that have been increased. For example, the price of unga today is quite different from the way it was in 2022. In 2022, the price of unga was quite high.
What was the price in 2022?
In 2022, it was around 230
for 2 kilograms.
for 2 kilograms
Yes.
of unga. So over the past 2 years, what they've done is that they have brought a little bit of reduction. So when you go to the shop, you get it at around 150 shillings. And sometimes you can even get it lower. But there are other products that are essential, like electricity. All of us use it now. Electricity is now a necessity. It's not like those other days that it used to be like a product of leisure. Right now it's a necessity. So electricity, the prices of consumption has really gone high. So what happens is that there are some products that the prices go low and then others go up. So the common mwananchi, you think that this government cares or these people care about us, they have reduced this, but others are still high. And when it comes to the GDP, what he was talking about, what I can say, according to me, our current economic space has not really allowed, or the political goodwill has not really permitted steady growth of the GDP. Because how will it grow if the industries that we used to have not been revived? Like, for example, the textile industries that used to create job, they used to attract investors and things like that, they are no longer there. So if they are no longer as strong as they used to be there before, how can we basically talk about growth in GDP? So I think we need to come to a level of speaking the reality of what is happening in the ground and in the political sector, the governance sector. We come to a realization that things are not really going as they are supposed to be going. And the moment we come to that realization, have good political will, good governance will, I think once we are at that level, we'll be able to talk about the GDP growth that Okari has just mentioned. But for me, I can't really say that we have that growth.
I think I'll take it back to Ndu or...
I think it would be interesting to hear from a couple more folks.
Okay.
Let's look at what has been happening when we talk about maybe certain interventions that have been made. Have we seen the price of things, goods, services for you in business at whatever level increase or decrease over time?
Okay, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name Alex Mutuku. I'm at Boda from Adriva, sub-county, Machakos, and also a business person. The economy is really doing bad down there because if you look, for example, at the Boda industry, some of the Bodas now prefer the electric motorbikes. I can see the electric motorbikes they are getting more and more in the market because people are running away from the fuel. The fuel is becoming very expensive for the people in business, and that's one indication that the economy is not well. Recently, we have the motorbike which is going for 95,000, and if you pay per day, you are going to pay for 180, and so many riders are really going for that motorbike because maybe they are not getting enough. By the end of the day, they will not get enough money to fuel their motorbikes and also provide for their families.
I just wanted to hold you on that. As we compare before on your motorbike, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at the numbers of your customers, the people that you ferry every day, how is it? Are you ferrying more or less today? And if you're ferrying, whichever the case, what is the driving factor? Why are either more people on board or few people on board? What do they tell you? Because I know these stories, you have them.
Okay, for our customers, we don't have a lot of customers nowadays. For those who are maybe traveling for short distance, they prefer maybe walking. You only get maybe in an emergency or somebody who is traveling a long distance.
On borders?
Yes.
Okay, let's look at it from a daily basis. How much would you make on a normal day if everything was okay, as you had said? What are we talking about?
When I started business, border business, like 10 years ago, I used to make 3,000 in a day.
After fueling and everything?
Yes, after fueling and everything. But nowadays, even making 1,000 shillings is so difficult.
And why is this? Less people are using this form of transport, or people don't have money, they're walking, or what do you see has happened, even if not 10 years ago, but 5 years ago until today? What do you see has happened?
What happened? So many people were ventured to the business, and because maybe there is no any other opportunity for the youth, so many youths are joining the border business. That's why there's a lot of competition, and the business is down. And also, at the moment, we don't have the money. We don't have money in the pocket, so nobody will be. A certain population is not able to afford the motorbike transport. Yeah.
Okay, some more.
Okay, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Amai Asborn, the chairman of Bodaboda Embakasi East, and I'm happy to be here. So if I may start with, there is a proverb that says, a thief knows how to steal, but he doesn't know how to return. And I believe it's very true. And a thief knows how to steal, but he doesn't know how to return. If I compare 2022 and now, the economy, it has growth, but it does not have development. Development in it does not have, but the growth is there. The growth is like what we saw the other time. The president is giving the Rwanda Stars 2.5 million, and it does not empower those clubs so that every player can enjoy, even if he's in Lodwama, Kokule, Marsabit, Wajiri. So you find them, they are doing that, but there is no development. When I say that, I'm trying to say that what my fellow has just said, the problem of the economy that we are having, or the people that are running, is that most of them, they do things, but they try to use another way of cover. For instance, the flour that we are using back in those days, it is not the flour that we are using right now. Jana, after the past 1 year, I don't know if it affects you guys. Me, it affects me very much. If I buy 2 kg, I could cook 2 days or 3 days. But the 2 kg of now, because it's now trying to cover something, you take it in water, ni inaisha yote.
So shida ni unga.
Sasa shida ni wakati quality hakuna, quality hakuna. Sasa hata hiyo 2 kg ulikuwa unakula mara mbili, sasa hizi sijui wanachukua maplastic wanasiaga tu white wanaleta tunapika, I don't know. It is not adding anywhere kabisa. Let me come to my sector of boda. We started very well. Boda, the first boda I bought back in 2011, it was around 80,000 and it has quality. Wakina kampuni fulani Jincheng, wakina nini, they had quality. Hata zilikuwa na nguvu. Sasa wakati imekuja it came, it picked, ikaenda. Saa hii unaona tunaletewa kitu ingine hapa unaambiwa 95,000. Mimi mwenyewe niko na 80 kg. Hiyo kitu inabeba 70 kg. Mimi nikikaa, my sisters nani akalie, akaezi enda. So is this person empowering me or is killing me? Lazima we have to reason out. Si ndio? Kitu unakuambiwa it is carrying 70 kgs. Mimi personally I'm 80.
Na hiyo hujabeba client.
Sijabeba client. Client wangu ndio huyu sasa, tuseme ni huyu Masi huyu ako 105. Hiyo kitu inaenda ama nini? Lakini ile nilikuwa nayo it was 80,000, lakini ningebeba Masi wawili and I move.
So issue kwako ni quality.
So issue one ni yani walitunyang'anya. Sasa wanajaribu kufunika in a way that wanajaribu cover up, but it is not working. So there is no development complete.
So leo bado unaendesha boda?
I'm still riding my boda. That's why hata nimekuja hata iko huko chini.
Unatengeneza pesa ngapi in a day?
Hakuna pesa.
Every day there's nothing that you get.
Completely hakuna, because I'm using the fuel one and also I have the electric one. So here comes the problem. The fuel one, sai mafuta it is over 180. Ndio, petrol. Hii pikipiki in a kilometer, in 1 kilometer, I spend in 70 kilometers I'm supposed to spend like 1 liter. Na hii 1 liter, for example, nimebeba mtu hapa mpaka town, nitarudi bure.
So how much does it take to fill your tank?
Ndio ijae. Saa hii inaenda karibu 1,000, sijui ni 4 ama ni 3.
4,000.
During those time it was 1,500 tank imejaa. So you find us we are struggling in this ministry, in this industry, kwa sababu watu kama huyu ndugu yangu mwenye amekaa hapa, they are failing to translate the constitution perhaps to the leaders that we trust up there, because wangewa translate hii constitution, because Kenya is being ruled by a rule of law. It's a constitutional country. So if they could have translated to them very well, hatungekuwa tuna struggle hii, because people that are doing to their interest. Ukiangalia kama hii pikipiki kameletwa juzi, it is somebody's business. It is not even come to help riders. It is somebody's business. Look at what during the safety belt, it was not an initiative of the government. It was somebody's business. Angalia hii vitu zinakuja. So most of the things that are coming, they are not coming to help somebody. It is coming for that mtu anufaike hapo.
Okay.
But we want something that can accommodate all of us.
We're going to
make the economy grow.
Asking questions, and this is interesting. He said, translate this thing for us to then be able to understand. There are certain things that we have been told, Dr. Kabata, that interest rates have gone down. The dollar to the shilling, which is pegged to development, especially in this neck of the woods, in this part of the world, that we look at how the shilling compares to foreign currency, in this case, the dollar. The cost of, the interest rates have gone down. The dollar at almost 160 shillings just 2 years ago is now at 128 shillings to the dollar. And that would translate that the economy is getting stronger in broad terms. But what does it mean when that I buy fuel for almost 3 times, or rather when I buy fuel almost 9 shillings more than what I used to buy it 6 months ago, or that I buy food items for 100 shillings more? How does it make sense for me to understand? When they say it's doing better, how do I understand what those numbers mean down where I'm purchasing things for 1,500 bob?
So I think I've also listened to them, and I actually understand why they are talking the way they are talking. First of all, I think Dennis talked about the sectors. I can see the sectors that have driven the economic growth. And if you look at those sectors, they're actually the ones that are doing very well. Is there any sector that has a positive impact to these people directly? It is only agriculture. And if you look at the growth in the agriculture, it's very minimal. And therefore, the first question that we need to ask, what is driving this economic growth? Is it something that is touching on the small mwananchi?
And actually, Secretary, and speaking of agriculture, there are many who have been giving these sentiments that, look, it's not necessarily that it's the government that brought down the cost of unga. There was a period we had drought in this country.
Yes.
Then we started having now rains.
Yes.
So because mvua imenyesha mingi sana, mahindi iko kwa shamba. So it's not necessarily that there's an extra incentive to bring the cost of flour. I mean, I stand to be corrected, but that's another argument, that it's not necessarily that it's the cost of they brought down the cost because of anything else, but also because there's a surplus from the farms.
Yes. That would actually have an impact in agriculture. The good weather condition. In fact, we have had one of the best weather conditions in the last 3 years, and in fact, that is why we are actually having one of the reasons why we have low inflation. Because one of the things that we also need to understand is that the inflation in this country, or the increase in the prices, when I talk about inflation, I'm talking about the persistent increase in the prices of the commodity, is actually driven more by drought. When we have drought, what usually happens is that the prices of the common products, zenye mnatoa masukuma wiki,
the ones that need rain.
Yes, the ones that need rain, zina increase sana. And therefore, when we have good rain, what usually happens is that drought-driven inflation is actually subsidized. Now, the challenge is, we have brought down the drought-driven inflation. But look at the import-driven inflation. Import-driven inflation ndio hiyo mnaongea kuhusu mafuta. Kwa sababu mafuta hatutoi hapa, tunatoa nje, si ndio? Kwa hivyo ikikuja na bei ya juu ni kumaanisha prices za kila kitu zitakuwa juu. And that is why we call it imported inflation. So if you look at some of these sectors, financial sector, insurance sector, then you look at mining sector, the ones that are actually driving this growth. Nyinyi watu muko huko. So if it does, whatever is expanding is not touching the common mwananchi, that is why we have to say that the economy is growing, but we have a problem when it comes to translating this economy to development. Because you see, and that is the biggest challenge, we are collecting money, but are we putting it in areas that can actually be able to help you? I'll give you an example. Do you know when the health cover is not working, it has a big impact on you? Why? Because if the cover was working, ile pesa kidogo unajiwekea matibabu ya mtoto na watu wale wengine ukipeleka kwa investment. Lakini sasa kwa sababu haifanyi kazi, ukitumia pesa yako lazima ubakishe 15,000 ama 20. In case ukuwe na emergency, utaweza kufanya nini? Kudeal nayo. That is how some of these things translates to a common mwananchi indirectly, but we do not see. Masomo imeongezewa. What happens? Huyu mzee anakuta familia ilikuwa inakula mkate, imeachana na mkate, kwa sababu lazima sasa wa translate hiyo pesa kutoka kwa mkate wapeleke shule. So that alone touches the common mwananchi, and that is why you see these people are complaining. Everybody is complaining in the country because the small top gaps that the government had put for us waliodoa. Walipoodoa, sisi mishahara yetu zimebaki ile ya kawaida. Our salaries are just the same, si ndio? Lakini matumizi yetu ime-increase. Alafu wale wanafanya kazi, taxes zika-increase. So what do you do when taxes increases? In economics we say human beings are rational people. And what we mean by rational people ni eti watafanya vitu depending on how the situation is. Is that okay? So when the prices, when the taxes and disposable income, ama ile income yenye ulikuwa nayo ina decrease, what happens? Na wewe unaamua mkate sitakuwa nikikula. Boda nitanunua pesa kidogo, ama nitaweka nitaacha kubebwa na boda penye nilikuwa nalipa 150, at least inatembea. So that translates to you people, and that is where you see things up.
You see, when you break it down like that in terms of the economy, we look at education, parents here taking kids to school. You talk, you also speak in terms of healthcare. So here we have the sharp conversation that is happening. But then again, there is also fact that we are paying house rent.
we are moving from point A to point B. We are bringing goods to our shops for us to be able to do business. But let's just hear how the things you've mentioned have affected the Kenyans here, because you see, the president would come and say, or even our economist in government would say, the economy has improved, but has the common wananchi felt that improvement?
Yeah, I think we have a bit of a problem hearing you, Dennis. So I think we're going to work on that in just a minute. And so then coming to folks in the audience, just hearing how the economy has affected, how life has been over the. I mean, maybe you can go ahead and answer that question, Prof, as we try to sort out this.
So. Another thing that you also need to understand, he also talked about, I've actually explained to you why people are not coming to, are actually going to do away with some of the things that you are selling in your shop, because anything luxury, when the standard of living increases, what usually happens is that human beings do away with what they can actually, or what is not necessary to them. And that is why you see, ukiangalia December kwa supermarket, there are very few supermarket had put their fridges and all these other things that they put outside there. Why? Because that is a luxury to Kenyans. When the economy is not doing well, bona ninunue TV ya 20,000 na 40,000. So it is even affecting the companies that are actually the manufacturers that we are talking about. So it goes back to the manufacturers, because these people do not have money, and that is why we are saying that for us to be able to help these people and to take this economy back to where it is, one, the government must stop borrowing from the domestic market, kwa sababu hata reduce interest rates na bank inajua huyu mtu nikimpatia 20,000 hataweza kulipa, kwa sababu economy haifanyi vizuri. Pesa watapeleka wapi? Watapeleka kwa hizo treasury bills zenye ziko low, kwa sababu that money is more safer than giving somebody who cannot be able to run the business. So the government must stop borrowing in the domestic market. Taxes, the minute you increase taxes or you bring in taxes in the people's income, what happens? You reduce the disposable income. Watu wanaacha kuconsume, watu wanaanza kukula basic needs. Ana kanyumba kakuishi, analipa school fees na vitu kama hizo. And that is why you see, if you look at that Kenya National Bureau of Statistics figures, even the amount of cement that was sold last year decreased, kwa sababu watu waliacha kufanya nini? Kujenga manyumba. It is a luxury to them. So that is what happens. So if you do not put money in people's pocket, there is no consumption. If there is no consumption, there is no investment.
Yeah.
Back to your setup.
You remember pesa mfukoni.
Yes.
So that's pretty much where it's at. As business, as a big entrepreneurs here doing businesses, how has it been for them? Let's just hear if at all what the government says is translated to them.
Okay. Once again, naitwa Miri. Mimi ile kitu naweza sema, kama kuna njia inaweza patikana ya kusaidia kama sisi watu wa chini. Mimi nauzanga kitunguu na wholesale. Nilianza kwa kibada na nikawaelezea hapo, hata afadhali wakati nilikuwa kwa kibada sometimes back. Saa hii nimekuwa biashara ilikuwa mzuri, juu nilikuwa nachukua kitunguu yangu napelekea mama soko pale, namuuzia kama neti moja. Nikimuuzia neti moja ananilipa cash, tunamalizana. Ilifika mahali hakuna pesa kabisa, na mimi nimekopa pesa yangu, nimeleta mzigo kwa soko, kwa store. So tukaanza negotiate, we negotiate na customer wangu, tutafanya aje? Nipatie mzigo, at least nauza nampea siku 2. But acha nikuambia, ilifika mahali hii biashara ikakuwa baya. Kwa nini? Ameuza 500. Vile ameuza 500, anashindwa hii 500 niko na watoto 4 kwa nyumba. Ni unga, ni maji, ni nini, juu kila kitu ni kulipa. So unapata by the time amalize kuuza ile kitunguu, hana stock na hajanilipa. So huyu mama atafanya nini? Juu hataki nimkibize sana, anakibia kwa hiyo Shylock iko hapo. Juu hata microfinance haja qualify. Kuna Shylock zinakukibia, zinazunguka tu, kuna vibada mingi za pesa. Bora aone nyumba yako iko na ka TV na uko na ka stock kidogo. Anafanya nini? Anakuja anakopa pale. Na juu ile pesa yenye nilimuzia kitunguu hata hakuweza kusave hata shilingi 1 ndio alipe rent. Hii 10,000 amepewa na Shylock, 5,000 anakibizia anakibiza kwa rent 1500 anakuja ananipea kidogo. Nami juu mzigo yangu imekwama pale na shida nitafanya nini? So unapata hata saa zingine nilinunua kitunguu na 50 shillings mpaka kwa soko. Nikifanya expenses inakuja 55 na unapata hata nauza na hiyo 55. Kwa nini? Sina market kabisa. Juu yani sina mtu wa kuuzia kabisa. So yule mama tena tunakuja tuna negotiate, naona ni kama atanisaidia bado. Juu amepata pesa kidogo. Acha nimpe mzigo tena. Kumpatia mzigo tena anauza, lakini siku ya 3 ya 4 tumesimama hapa tukiwa watu wangapi? Tuko na mtu wa Shylock, juu hajaweza kulipa Shylock na niko hapa. So hata pale tusipoangaliwa sana, wale wa mama sijui ni akina nani watafauti next.
So
watu watakuwa depressed.
So mama wengi wanauza hapo kuna loans
na unapata hata Shylock si moja. Juu sasa inafika mahali sasa hii moja si imemkalia sana. Hajui, unajua yule hajui kama kuna mwingine, anakibia kwa mwingine. So atuliza huyu na 3,000, atuliza Mudhoni na 2,000, alafu shule nayo ni aje? Watoto ndio hao wamekaa hapo. Unaona? So unapata huyu mtu sasa amejaa kwa loans. Kwa nini mimi juu pesa yangu imeenda sana na mama soko, imeenda na yule mwingine, hata mimi unapata bado nakuwa affected. Juu ile loan yangu nimeshindwa kulipa vizuri. Aya, nitabidi nitafute pahali pengine kazi ndio hiyo. Kama saa hii tumekuwa tukiendea kitunguu TZ. Saa hii for the last 1 month kitunguu ilikuwa around 60
what?
60 per kg.
60 shillings per kg.
Per kg.
Hiyo ni kununua.
Yeah. Saa hii inafika na 100. Juu shilingi yetu kule tunaambiwa inashuka. Kitu kama hiyo inashuka. Sisi hatuendangi, lakini kuna wale unatuma. Shilingi yetu inaitangwa aje currency. Wakibadilisha pale yetu ina lose value.
Exchange rate.
Lose kila siku.
So hiyo 60 ni kununua, hujahesabu transport.
Nimehesabu sasa kila kitu. Saa hii inafika na 100. Niambie sasa huyu mwenye nilikuwa napea kitunguu na 60 within 3 weeks alikuwa na shida kulipa hiyo. Aya, saa hii nimefikishiwa na 100, itabidi nimuuzie na 110. Aya, nikimuuzia na 110, hiyo atanunua kitunguu inatoshana aje?
Sasa so itabidi faida yako kwa hiyo 110 ni shilingi 10.
Ni shilingi 10. Na sasa nikiweka tax, kajo hapo ndio hao wamesimama hapo, gari ikiingia tu hivi, ile pesa ukiangalia unaona nikifanya hesabu na nichukue tu 10,000 nilipe shule, pesa yangu ya capital imeingiwa.
Okay. Lakini unanunua kitunguu kutoka Tanzania. Hakuna kitunguu Kenya. Kwa nini unanunua kitunguu za Tanzania?
Shida ni moja, kitunguu ya Kenya kulingana na wakulima venye wanalima, hawalimi vitu quality. Alafu sijui ni fertilizer, according to venye tumekuwa tukiongea nao wanasema sijui waliletewa fertilizer baya, kuna dawa baya walipiga juu. Sometime back kuna kitunguu niliendea Narok, wakati kitunguu ilikuwa imeless sana hata TZ, juu TZ inakuanga seasonal. Kuendea Narok kitunguu nikivuna kwa shamba ilikuwa tu sawa, juu nimekuwa nikiuza. But by the time nifike hapa nikaiweka kwa store for 2 days. Juu nilifika ikiwa Saturday lazima ningeenda church. Monday nikikuja kitunguu ilikuwa imeanza kutoa maji. So hiyo kitunguu 3/4 hiyo kitunguu ni kutupa, nilitupa. Kwa nini? Ililipuka yote. So unaona, kuliko upoteze pesa yako, afadhali uende ile kitunguu mzuri. Alafu another thing, customer hata mwenyewe akikuuliza, anakuuliza uko na kitunguu gani? Uko na TZ ama uko na gani? Ukimwambia ni loko anasema hapana, sitaki loko. Juu one thing, loko hawalimi vizuri. Juu ukichunguza pia wao mtu alinunua, aliuza ng'ombe ndio apate begu. So ile begu na Juhana pesa ya kutosha juu ile begu mzuri ni expensive. Unaona aliuza ng'ombe, so alinunua ile begu aliweza kununua. Tena analilai na kukopeshwa fertilizer ndio aendelee. So akihitaji dawa hapo katikati na hana pesa, atafanya nini? Atatumia shortcut. So ile kitu haitakuwa venye inafaa. So nikinunua inaniletea shida. Ndio maana mimi huwa na prefer wacha ninunue ile hata kama iko juu ndio at least nisipoteze side zote.
Okay. You know, they're saying that the onions ni bomb, no, but that was starting.
No, natoa machozi.
But you see here now we're talking about a fertilizer conversation that is there, right? We know the government subsidies the fertilizer, but that notwithstanding, have we enabled farmers to be able to buy good quality seeds? That's another conversation that is there. But that notwithstanding, there is also access to credit, because farmers need money to buy these things. And the government, when coming in, introduced us to Hustler Fund. I just ask, nani hapa umetumia Hustler Fund? Umetumia Hustler Fund. So if the question of Hustler Fund is there, why are we seeing farmers and entrepreneurs going for Shylocks and not Hustler Fund?
Thank you.
Just stand.
First, my name is Eli Kegode, aka Super Chairman. Mimi ndio mwanzilishi wa SACCO inaitwa Kenya Riders and Owners Bodaboda SACCO. Nataka kujibu swali la mwenzangu hapa. Through Hustler Fund, vile iliingia, naweza sema ilikuwa kitu yenye ingesaidia wa Kenya as jumla. Lakini ulipata wale wenye walikuwa kwa opposition waliambia watu wao, chukua usirudishe. Na unajua hii Kenya ukishaambiwa na mkubwa wako mwenye unaamini uwezi kufanya namna gani uwezi rudisha. So unapata watu vile walichukua hiyo loan, kuna wale wenye walichukua wakirudisha, najua limit zao zinaenda anga zikigrow, lakini kuna mtu mwenye alichukua day one vile alichukua hivyo, hiyo ndio ilikuwa mwisho wake. Bado serikali inamdai, na tulisikia juzi Oparanya akisema atakuwa anaenda door to door, hatujui atakuja siku gani, ama kitu yenye serikali inaweza kufanya wawevu hiyo kitu kwanza, ndio tuangalie maisha vile inaanza tena upya.
Lakini hiyo pesa ya Hustler Fund mara ya kwanza mlichukua ndio ifanye nini? Hiyo pesa iwasaidia aje?
Hustler Fund ikikuja, unajua waliweka limit kidogo sana. Unapata watu wengi wale wenye wajiwezi walikuwa wanachukua kitu kama 500. Hiyo ndio ilikuwa limit zile za chini. Ukibahatika upate 2,000, 3,000 hivyo. Na ule mkulima mkubwa, yani mwenye akomdozi, mwenye M-Pesa yake inalia kila siku, unapata limit yake ilikuwa inaenda mpaka up to 50 huko. So hatujui criteria yenye walitumia, lakini mimi mawazo yangu ilikuwa hiyo Hustler Fund hawangeidishi hivyo vile waliweka kila mtu aichukue hivyo. Wangeangalia organized SACCOs. Kitu ya kwanza sisi kama wana bodaboda wangeangalia kwanza. Nashukuru president tukiwa pale KICC alituita mara ya kwanza akasema go and form SACCO. Tuliform SACCOs. Since that day amefanya nini? Hustler alileta, alipea watu. Instead aseme watu wa form SACCOs, mama mboga form SACCO, mtu wa bodaboda na wakulima wa form SACCOs. Whereby hii pesa ya Hustler Fund angekuwa anaweka pale kwa SACCOs, zina rotate na zinarudishwa. Lakini sasa unapea mtu ujue ametoka wapi, ako side gani, utampata siku gani.
Swali ni SACCO yako ilipata Hustler Fund?
Haijawahi pata, hiyo ni ukora. Haijawahi pata. So kitu yenye iko wa restructure hiyo Hustler Fund ilikuwa ni mfumo mzuri. Tukirudi nimeona mmeongea mambo ya mbolea. Hata mimi pale nilikuwa nimekaa hapa nyuma nilikuwa nacheka tu. Hata mimi ni mwana bodaboda, lakini tena huwa analima huko nyumbani. So unapata kitu ya kwanza napongeza rais bila leta subsidize
fertilizer,
because ukiangalia hapo 2022 tulikuwa tunanunua unga shilingi 230 ile wakati wa Uhuru Kenyatta. Akakuja akileta kitu mzuri, opposition ilitoka wakaweka sufuria kwa kichwa. Mr. President Ruto akasema mtatoa hiyo kichwa sufuria kwa kichwa, tuende kwa shamba. Sufuria ukiweka kwa kichwa italeta chakula, lazima uende kwa shamba mlime
ndio uweke chakula kwa sufuria,
ndio chakula ikuje kwa sufuria. I liked that one because tulikuwa tuna misleadiwa na opposition, naweza sema hivyo. Vile wale watu wenye walisikia hiyo wakati wakaenda kwa shamba, ikiwemo mimi mmoja wao, nikachukua ile mbolea mara ya kwanza ya Uhuru tulikuwa tunanunua mbolea shilingi 7,000 50 kg. Ruto akakuja akasema my subsidy mpaka 3,500. Tukienda kununua bado wale wakora wengine wakatuambia hiyo mbolea ni mbaya, msinunue hiyo mbolea.
Vile walisema msichukue pesa ya Hustler Fund,
msirudishe inapigana. So hiyo walileta tu na meli kukuja kudamp kuzi ime expire. mimi nilichukua hiyo mbolea yenye walisema ilitoka huko wametupa. Na nikalipa serikali 3500. Nikapanda nayo mahindi. By that time, kusema ukweli, wale wenye walipanda mahindi by that time, mahindi ilifanya yenye jawahi fanya. Ndio maana unga ilitoka from 230 ikakuja mpaka 100 shillings. Ulikuwa unaenda kwa soko unapata mpaka unga ya shilingi 100 2 kg. So kitu yenye naweza ambia serikali, kuna vitu tatu tulikuwa tunasoma tukiwa primary. Basic need.
Ngoja kidogo. Unasema ulipanda na hiyo mbolea na mkavuna vizuri sana, si ndio?
Yes.
Yeah? So fertilizer ilifanya kazi.
Ilifanya kazi.
Lakini mlikuwa mmesikiza mwenzetu wakisema msinunue hiyo mbolea sababu ni mbaya. Lakini ulinunua na ukapanda na ukavuna.
Yes.
Si ndio?
Yes.
So ilikuwa tu sawa.
Ilikuwa sawa.
So hizo stories za mbolea mbaya ilikuwa tu story.
Hizo ni za jaba.
Okay. Okay.
So nikiongezea naweza advise serikali. Kuna vitu tatu basic. Watu wanaumia huko nje. Ujue sometimes watu wakiwa kwa maofisi, ujue kitu yenye nimerealize na hii Kenya, kila mtu anang'ang'ania kukua kwa ofisi ya serikali. Ndio waibie wananchi vizuri. Kitu yenye iko, watu watoke kwa maofisi waende kwa ground. Waende wafanye kazi kwa ground. Kenya iko na shamba kubwa. Mimi nasikia uchungu nikisikia dada yangu anasema anaenda kununua kitunguu Tanzania na Kenya ndio kila kitu iko hapa. Ukijaribu kuangalia rutuba ya Kenya iko na mandhari ya yani tukipanda chakula vizuri sisi ndio tunaweza lisha Afrika mzima, Eastern Central Africa. Lakini hatuna watu wenye wako kwa Afrika cha mmelala. Hata inafaa tukuja hapo kwa ofisi tuwachape viboko. Mshuke kwa ofisi.
Okay.
Mtoke kwa ofisi.
Kiboko aside, wewe ukiangalia shida ni wapi?
Shida ni ile nimekuambia vizuri, vitu zenye nafasi zisaidie mwananchi zinaishia kwa ofisi. Kila mtu anaangalia hii ni yangu, hii ni yako, tutafanya namna gani, tuende tulete hii, tuweke kwa mfuko. Hiyo ndio kitu yenye inaendelea kwa hizi ofisi. Lakini tukiacha hizo, kusema ukweli, President Ruto alikuwa analeta kitu yenye kitu yenye inaitwa bottom up. Kusema ukweli ilikuwa ifanye, lakini watapeli waliingilia. Mimi nasema hivyo. President aenda akae chini, aangalie mvua ilianza kunyeshea Kenya wapi. Ndio restructure vizuri. Pali mtu afanyi kazi aende nyumbani. Tupate mtu mwenye anaweza kutusaidia. Because hatuwezi enda kuchukua kitunguu Tanzania na tuko na shamba. Kwanza shamba ya serikali, my friend. Ukitembea hii Kenya, mimi nimetembea. Shamba za serikali ni mingi. Hata kando ya barabara tu rutuba bado ziko tu hapo mingi. So tujaribu tuweke biashara yetu ikuwe rahisi na pesa irudi kwa mfukoni. Alafu mwenzangu amesema acha niongelee kwa pikipiki because najua time inaenda. Pikipiki tukianza kazi ya pikipiki ilikuwa mzuri. Lakini kuna watapeli wenye walisoma. Majambazi, mimi nasema watu kama Uber, Bolt, sijui nani. Walitoka huko wale wametoka sijui Estonia, wamekuja hapa Kenya. Hao ndio walituharibia biashara kitu ya kwanza. Sisi ulikuwa unakuja tuna negotiate bei na wewe. Unataka kwenda town kama uko Prestige. Town customer wetu walikuwa wanajua ni 300. Kuteremka town. Lakini hao majambazi vile walikuja hawataki kusikiza ground. Hao wameenda wanakuwekea kutoka Kibra mpaka town 50 bob. Na bado kwa hiyo 50 bob kuna shilingi 20 ni zao. Lakini serikali imenyamaza tu. Lakini unapata wenye wanatumia hii Uber na Bolt ni wadozi, inafaa wanyorose pale. Lakini unapata sasa mtu mwenye analipa vizuri ni ule masikini. Mimi napenda kubeba masikini kabisa. Kwa sababu analipanga mzuri. Kwa sababu ana Bolt, kuna katululu, ukimwambia tunaenda town ni 300, hata sumbuana na wewe.
Unaweza mfinya vizuri.
Yes.
Let's see how yeah.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Michael Kioko. I'm a business person in a real estate agent and also a cryptocurrency trader. Now, nikijibu mwenzangu hapa, in regard to hiyo mambo ya Asla Fund, it was money which was intended to promote the young people and also everyone in this nation, but it was being given to people with no skills and with no plan. So hiyo ilikuwa tu ni pesa ya kupiga sherehe, kwa sababu pesa haikuwa inaelekea mahali mzuri, haikuwa inaelekezwa mahali mzuri. So kulingana na mimi, we have so many ways in which the government can invest so that the people of Kenya can embrace. For example, hizi biashara za online, kama serikali inaweza ika-invest na kutrain the Gen Zs and the millennials on applying technology, at least we can reduce the issue of joblessness in Kenya. Like for example, the issue of cryptocurrency trading. You can find that you can just work from your home and find that every day with a minimum of around 5,000 to 10,000, you can find yourself every day you are earning about 500 shillings to 1,000 shillings when you are doing cryptocurrency trading. That is a genuine business which many people in Kenya have been trading. Like for example, in Kenya, we have more than 1.3 million people who are using cryptocurrency trading. And still in Kenya, we have about 10 billion shillings whereby people in Kenya have invested in that sector. So it is a very legit business because right now technology is changing everything. In Kenya, in terms of applying technology, it is ranked number 3. And in Kenya, we are not used to being number 3. We are used to being number 1. So the government should embrace in training the people, or maybe the Gen Zs, the millennials, about the skills of applying technology so that people can just do the small businesses and also earn their living.
But the government said that there was a program, or there is currently a program, to ensure that there are digital hubs in every ward. That's what the president said. Yes, and he also said to the young people, because not everybody can do cryptocurrency. It's a bit complex. There are other businesses that all of us can't do cryptocurrency. Though that technology, I agree, would be the direction. However, there was also a promise here, ukifinya computer inatoa toa pesa, we were told that. But not everybody anaweza finya computer na itoe pesa. But the question in terms of the cost of living for you, because you're doing that cryptocurrency, because you're running away from what is affecting the rest of the other business people, kama boda boda, kwenda kwa barabara, people are now doing these jobs. My question is, because a lot of people are moving to these spaces to avoid paying a lot of the taxes, permits, and licenses. And my question is, I don't know what business you're doing before this, but this can go to everybody else. Wangapi hapa, ile kazi unafanya mabiashara, unalipa taxes, unalipa permits, uko na licenses, unalipa kanjo mali uko. If you compare 5 years ago or even 10 years ago to where we are, how is zimeongezeka, ziko pale pale, ama ziko wapi? Tutaanza tuna as a comment.
Before I ventured in this cryptocurrency business, I am a real estate agent. So in that sector, it was very harsh because when you are an agent, you must be very smart, because you must combine the buyer and the seller so that you can get your commission. So in that sector, it just become very harsh for me and maybe for the other brokers, because we are still living in Kenya. So
watu wanunua nyumba ama ni nini? Ama walipi rent, ama wataki kukodisha, ama ni shida iko wapi?
No, you are finding that it is not easy to get those clients so that you can just get your commission. So I had just to find an alternative, and I am slowly converting from being a real estate agent to being a full-time cryptocurrency trader, because I have seen that is why I was recommending the Gen Zs and the millennials, because they can easily apply the technology which we are now using. Because if at all we will have to get change in this nation, we will have to embrace technology, because technology is changing everything. So if the government can just do invest more on training the youths and the millennials, and especially the people who are graduating the universities and the colleges, I think that that technology can change this nation, because the sector of the border, the other sectors are flooded. You find that like a stage in GM, we have more than 50 people, and that those 50 people, they are just rushing for about 20 people. So it means that sector is already flooded. That is why the people who are in the border sectors, you find that previously when the border sector business was starting, they were earning about 3,000, but now earning 1,000 shilling, it is very hard. So they must find an alternative, and not only the sector, the border sector, in all other sectors they are flooded. So we must embrace the change, because unless we apply the change, we will not succeed.
So, Dr. when you hear such responses being given, one would assume that these are the views through public participation that would be picked up, then used to formulate policies whenever we have now the Finance Bill 2026 that would come, because I know the process is about to start. So, as we hear this, one would ask the question, when you see these finance bills or government policies coming into place, do they in any way have this in them?
Mimi nasema, I think there's a problem because most of our policies are actually driven by personal interest. And that is the biggest challenge that we have. And because of that, nobody cares about what we are talking about here. I'll actually tell you, this government had one of the best economic model called the bottom-up economic model. And it is one of the simplest model that they could have actually been able to implement to help these people. Because what does bottom-up mean? It means you go back to the ward. Everybody here comes from a ward. There are resources in the ward. You start there by utilizing the resources in your ward. I come from a tea growing area myself. I come from Mutithi ward in Kirinyaga County. That ward has one factory, a single factory, tea factory. Every year, that factory brings a revenue of 1 billion shillings in that ward. 1 billion in that ward is circulating in that ward. Lamu County is given 3.4 billion by the government as devolved money. So, what does that tell you? It tells you a very simple thing. Go back to the ward, which was the bottom up. Ask yourself, what are the resources that are in the wards of these people? Kama ni kituguu, hawa watu tutawasaidia aje waanze kulima kituguu mzuri, na ni nini ingine wanataka ili kituguu it employs these people in the ward. That is why I actually feel it when I see people saying that the devolved function is not working. It is not working because we have not made the wards the production centers in this country.
Okay.
And that is the only way we can help this country.
But if we know that economies essentially are not built by government,
yes,
that's one thing that we sometimes seem to imagine, that there will be economic development because there's a government is doing it, is a fallacy.
Yes.
What government's job is to create the environment robust enough for this to take place.
Yes.
And these are the things that we're talking about. Yes. Because the builders of the economy are you and me.
Yes, yes.
The builders of the economy are entrepreneurs. Look at the biggest economies in the world today. And that is, if you look at the Americas of the time, the big companies that we talk about, the Nike, the Google, the whomever, they were started by individuals. This is not government operations. These are individual companies that started to thrive in such a manner that the economy now was pegged in one way or another to their success or failure. That when you see a big company start to drop in its shares, the economy takes a hit, right? But essentially, these economies are built by budding. That's why the SME culture looks like it has an issue. But we seem to forget that when we say people are making crisps, look at some of the biggest crisps organizations or companies in the world. They're started by individuals, but they grow so big that they are a buffer for the economy. But what needs to happen in order for these businesses to become such a solid fitting part of this economic puzzle is the question. What needs to happen? Because we can hear all of these gaps, and we're going to come back to some more folks here, that there's a problem with credit. One, we already know that credit is one of the biggest hurdles towards economic development for businesses. One, there are problems with access to proper goods. Because of what? People are buying products from other countries because, and Mary has said it, I had an experience where I went to buy onions from another part, and this is what I heard. So do we go to the root of the problem? Literally, what's happening with the soils? Agriculture Ministry has told us that there's a problem with soils in Kenya, and it's not the same. So the input will be more expensive because you have to use more. You see, all of these things. So what needs to happen in the interim here for us to realize on the other side that we can start to have a budding economy? Because it is not government's job to build the economy. They can't. There's too small an entity to build an entire economy, but they can create the environment where this should happen.
I think the problem is that environment, because I'll take an example of the credit. You've talked about credit. Where do we get credit? We get credit from the banks. Why are these banks not willing to give us money? Because the government is borrowing from the domestic market. And I said, there is no way. Actually, we always talk about Kibaki. What did Kibaki do in 2002? A very simple concept. He made sure that the money that the government was borrowing from the domestic market was very low. And therefore what happened, banki zilianza kukuja kwenu kwa manyumba zikikuuliza unataka pesa, because he did not have anybody else to give money. So when the government borrows in trillions from the domestic market, there is no way these people can be given money. Because hata mimi, I was a banker. Mimi mwenyewe hamwezi niambia niko kwa biashara ya kuuza pesa, niende nipatie huyu mtu pesa yangu mwenye haezi rudisha na serikali iko hapa, pesa ya serikali iko na provision mpaka ya inflation. Wewe utapeleka pesa yako wapi Dennis? Utapeleka kwa serikali, utaachana na hao watu. So we need to actually look at some of those issues that you are talking about, whether they are working the way they are supposed to be working. Umeongea kuhusu soil. Who is supposed to help us to test our soil? It is the agriculture extension officers. Where are they? Are they available? And if they are available, are they in a situation to help us to do that? Do they have the tools and all these other things that can be able to help us to do that? Now, if those things are not working from the word go, there is no way we can actually be able to help our economy. So the government must first of all make sure that the environment is fully conducive. Kwa sababu kama sahi hata kuna mtu ameongea hapa kuhusu Shylock. It is happening at the micro and macro level. Ukiangalia hii gazeti, 3/4 of the pages are Shylock, auctioneers. Na hawa auctioneers, ni kwa nini hawa watu wana-auctioniwa, most of them, especially at the macro level? It is because the government is not paying pending bills mostly. And therefore, hawa watu hawezi lipa madeni zao. So you go back and you realize that for us to be able to make that enabling environment, or to do whatever we are talking about, the environment must be so good such that we people can be able to thrive in businesses.
You see, most of the time we're doing businesses, right? So you find, you said Mary. Yeah. So Mary would import onions from Tanzania, right? But from Tanzania now she has to go through Kajiado County, come to Machakos County, come to Nairobi County, and all those counties she has to pay cess. So there is the question of taxation. So let's then just have a discussion on how taxation is affecting our businesses, and if at all we are able to operate.
Kila ambacho kwanza nimeona katika biashara, the way I started that business, niliona taxation iko juu sana, because I need to, the house ambayo ni hiyo kioski nilikuwa nimechukua pale hapa hill, I was paying 15,000. Natakana niende kwa Kanjo Kibra nilipie, nirudi nione vile vitu zitakuwa zinakuja. Kuna vitu zingine natumia motorbike. So kila ambacho niliona, nilifika mahali mimi nikafunga Kanjo, nikimuona nafunga mlango. I was waiting to pay the tax. Kwa sababu gani? Nikaona sasa nikilipa Kanjo, mimi mwenyewe ndio ninaanza hii loan, nimechukua, ninaanza biashara na loan, and that is the way. Hiyo ndio hatari kubwa sana wakati unaanza biashara na loan, sababu hapo unakula, unasafiria hapo, watoto wako wanakula hapo. So unapata kwamba iko haina miguu, haina mizizi. So serikali kama ingeangalia watu kama wenye wako chini wanaanza, kuna vitu zingine ingewapatia grace period. Sema tunaassess hii biashara yako vile umeanza, tunakupatia 2 years. Hii kiwango kama hujaelevate kutoka hapa, sasa tutaanza kukumonitor ulipe. Lakini sasa the minute unafungua mlango wako na wewe. So mimi nilianza kuuzia vitu nyuma. Somebody will come, mwambie nachukulia maziwa nyuma, sasa inakuwa wizi. Unaona? Ama ninaanza sasa kutafuta vitu ambazo ziko cheap, ninaendea mahali ambapo maybe vitu ziko almost to expire, so that at least nipate kitu. So kuna watu wako wanaumia kwa sababu gani? Hizi vitu ambazo tumefinyiliwa, watu wa chini kama sisi tungeangaliwa, tukipewa hiyo grace period, we can do it better. Tutafanya at least upumue, because hauna ground yoyote ambayo tumepewa. Kama vile tuseme kampuni zenye ziko kubwa kama Safaricom wanasema tunataka kuanzishia pia wafanyabiashara wadogo, tunawapatia hii, kama vile huwa wanafanya kwa mashule ama kufanya kwa kitu kingine. Lakini sasa unajipata kwamba we mwenyewe lazima hustle. Aya, hii pesa kama ya hustle yenye tulipewa that day, mimi nilipata 600, I got 600 shillings, and immediately nilipata nikiwa town. Nilianza na transport na hiyo pesa. Nikafika kwangu ni dono. Sasa nikaingia kwa supermarket hapo kwanza, nikanunua vitu. Iliisha the very day.
Vitu ya nyumba.
Na hii ni pesa ambayo wameniambia nianze kuuza mayai ama nini.
Ulilipa.
So hata hiyo
sasa hata sijalipa.
Ni vitu ni kitu. Unanunua kitu si vitu.
Okay, let's
So thank you so much. So what I will say at the end of it all this goes back to good leadership. The thing is this: we as the Kenyans, we are the ones who are fueling what is happening in our country currently. For example, we as Kenyans, how do we entertain the culture of corruption that for you to vote for a leader has to bribe you? Now, the moment they come into power, they will want to get back that same money that they used while they were campaigning. Manake nimeona washaanza kutuambia voter registration ishafunguka. Saizi as we speak, it has already opened. I've seen IEBC, they have started advertising. But now, the culture in Kenyans is that for them to vote, they have to be bribed. Now, that is where the problem is coming from. We as Kenyans need to have a culture, an inward culture of voting for leaders that are coming in with ideas. Let us listen to the ideology of the people that are coming on board, so that as we give them the power, they will not betray our trust once they get to that space. We have spoken about agriculture. Tumongelelea sana agriculture. But now, this agriculture, no matter how we as the local farmers, no matter how we try to have our own produce in Kenya, does the government buy from us? If you were to go to, is it called the what board? Cereals and what? NCB? D board. Yes. If you are to go there, you need to know somebody for you to be able to sell. And you need, for you to be able to have good money, I think you need to know somebody, and you need to be a large-scale farmer. So that political goodwill, that governance goodwill from our leaders, it really is not there. Another thing, are we able to help our youth to acquire skills? Because we are talking about everything. I've heard him even speaking about cryptocurrency and all things. But are we able to help our youths to acquire skills? Me as an individual, at this space, individually, I have gone out to schools just to look for youth's space so that they can be able to acquire some skills that can help them in terms of driving the economy. I've gone to colleges, different colleges, and I've spoken with them, and they have given me, as we speak tomorrow, here at St. George's, I will be having tomorrow an event at 4 p.m. whereby we will be issuing scholarship to youths who went to school, they finished Form 4, but they were only able to get something like a D. Now, these youths that got D, how is the culture treating them? There is this, I can say that most of them, they are having suicidal thoughts because they feel they are failures. You see? So whatever we are talking about, it's so deep that it is not only about how much we know how to speak in English, how much we understand what and what we've gone to school. The reality on the table is that what is happening in our country cuts across a lot. It goes deep down into our roots, that these, our youths, they are not able to get jobs. Now, one got a D, another one got maybe a D+, and we have all these TVET institutions. I don't refuse, but are we able to help them acquire jobs? How will they acquire jobs if the government is not producing jobs? And for the government to produce jobs, there must be the goodwill of coming up with manufacturing companies, and we must stop the culture of importing goods. Yeah, let us embrace exporting. That is one of the ways that will help us. That even if we import, these are products that we completely don't have. For example, we don't have a lot of oil, but I know that it is there. It's just that I know that there are other countries that come in and they siphon our oil and things like that. Yes, I know. But now, if we can avoid that culture of making other countries happy, you find that our president is going to make Museveni happy, going to make Mama Suluhu, Salah, Nini happy, while we as Kenyans, there is no that embrace. There is no, they don't have the mentality of helping a common wananchi to rise to a certain standard. For them, it is good for you to be rich, drive your own car, and leave other people down. No, allow me to speak, my brother, because I know I won't speak again. Another thing, allow me, maybe I am your incoming woman rep. Zoya, because you will be calling me. How can our schools, surely, today as I was walking, as I was coming here, I saw schools, I don't want to mention them, but I saw our high school students, they were being chased back home. They are being chased back home. Once this youth goes home and is being chased out home because of 1,000 shillings, and yet there is capitation for their education. Now, these are public schools. These are not private. In fact, even private school, you can even try to talk to the secretary of the Baraza. They can allow you. But a government school, they tell you go home. You are going home. There is nothing like you're trying to negotiate. I saw youths line up close to 100. I don't want to mention those schools, but they are in Ruaraka constituency. But I don't want to mention them. The kids were going back home. Why are these children going back home? Yet there is capitation for education. The thing is deeper than even what we are talking about here. So that child, when they go home, they will meet some others who will tell them, let us sit down, let us look at what is happening, and then now they begin to take drugs, and then the next thing we see mob justice on these young people, because we don't have that intention of helping them grow and come out of their poverty scale.
So shouldn't the issue be to look at what is the origin of the problem as opposed to trying to deal with the end result? Because we're dealing with an end result now when you talk about mental health issues and you talk about not being able to go into school and such. But the original problem is this conducive environment which we have talked about that has not been set.
Political goodwill. People are coming in, but they don't have the interest of Kenyans at heart. But if you have that interest, number one, like what he's talking about, fake borders that are coming in. Are we not able to manufacture our own? Kenya is 60 years old. By now we have the capacity to build our own products. I went to Nigeria, I saw some young men, they are building their motorcycles, they are building their tuk-tuk, they are building their cars, but yet, it's almost the same. But we can see that the youths are being pushed, you see, to go and create their own. But now here in Kenya, our own youths, when they try to make something small, we laugh at them instead of embracing them and supporting whatever.
Is that the case? Let's say, gentlemen, sorry, please remind me your name. Is that the case? Because you said that, bringing in borders is now about, what was it, 20,000 shillings more expensive.
Yeah, it's more.
Are there options for people for Kenyan manufacturing, for example?
Yeah, we talked it last time, and we said that as Kenyans, because when the price was hiking, we sat down with relevant authorities and we told them, it is good for us because of the age that we are having now, we manufacture our own. Something like this tire, hizi mipira, hizi plastic, the guards, and unapata all these things that are being imported. And we have even kuna hii kampuni ya plastic iko hapa. Kwani hawezi design tu hii mikebe hii cover tu za pikipiki kando, you must import them. Hence the bike right now, the original price right now, it's almost 195. Yes, just 200 shillings from 87,000. It has gone. Na tunaweza tengeneza zetu. It's only that we don't been given opportunity. When I'm saying this, kuna kijana alijaribu kuinvent ndege. Akaenda kutest kwa uwanja mahali, akapanda nayo juu, akateremka chini. Huyo kijana alishikwa, anakuwa ana commit suicide. How? Somebody, baada ya government nayo ikuje ione hiyo idea, wajaribu kumsupport, wanaenda kumfunga, ana commit suicide. Mwingine akiwa na hiyo idea anaweza fanya kweli. So whatever that we are facing in Kenya right now, nasema tu Kenya ni kama tu plantation. This is not even a country. This is just a plantation.
Mimi niko na swali.
We should have somebody, we should have now leaders where they have Kenyans at heart. Lakini kama tutaendelea namna hii, soon Kenya will be a wholesale and everybody will just be shopping whatever things he wants. But kama tutasimama in the right way, we say now, Huyu amekuja na hii idea, let's embrace. Tunakuja tuna embrace. Lakini sasa wewe mtu anakuja na idea, unampiga. Kwa mfano kama nisema you cannot come to my house, you cause problem, and then unakuja unaniambia you have a solution. You cannot come and cause problem. Unaona mwingine last year the former regime walipandisha bei ya mafuta only to realize somebody was initiating his own petrol station, and it came hiyo ndio ilikuwa inauza bei ya chini. Wakati Rubis ilikuja, mafuta petrol zingine zilikuwa zinauza expensive. Unapata somebody is driving all the way mpaka atafuta tu petrol ya Rubis. Kwa sababu gani? Hiyo bei yake iko chini. What was the implication? It is somebody's business. So must you kill somebody for you to be elevated? And this is what is happening in Kenya. Let's not kill others for others to be elevated. This is what we are under, and we are being controlled by one law, that is constitution. Tukasema vile my brother amesema hiyo, kuna watu wanakuja hapa Kenya, wanakuja wanaingishwa kwa boardroom. The beneficiaries are not being engaged. Huyu mjana anatoa vitunguu Tanzania. Kwani hatuna watu tunaweza kaa nao tu chini to reason out. Tuseme ya kwamba now Kenya tuko na mashamba ya kulima. Nilitembea siku nyingine hapa Naivasha. I was driving almost, I don't know, it was 20 kilometers ama 10 kilometers. Nasikia hiyo shamba ni ya mtu mmoja. Ati haijapandwa kitu. Imemea tu ndani magazeli tu na mazebra ndio zinalala tu hapo shule. And we are not tunahangaika. We should not be hangaikaring when we have an opportunity to salvage and to grow, to make development in our economy. So lazima to make sure ya kwamba when we are doing, soon we will be going for the election. President Ruto has a very good plan, lakini shida ananga execution. Hana watu wa kumsaidia kuimplement. Juzi huyu kijana anaitwa Muraro Kebaso ametembea ati hii uwanja ililonjiwa wakapeana hapa 500 million. Ilienda wapi? Hata contractor hajulikani. Hajulikani. Juzi amekuja Soweto kulonje ka barabara kingine, ni barabara ilikuwa ameweka tu lami juu. Amekuja whole president anakuja kulonje kitu ya MCA. Hata si MCA mzee nyumba 10. Sisi tulikuwa tumeungana hata tumetengeneza. He's coming to launch that thing. Our president of the Republic of Kenya. Mimi hata niliaibika si kuenda hapo because it's very shameful.
Nikuulize swali.
Yes, ask me.
Pale mwanzo ukisema uko na pikipiki mbili.
Yes.
Na ukasema zile zimekuja ni haziwezi beba kilo yako ni 80.
Very true.
Na uwezi hata beba passenger. Kuna pikipiki zilipeana State House. Wewe ulienda State House?
Mimi mwenyewe nilikuwa State House. And as my sisters just say, saa hii ni kujuana. Kama una godfather pale mbele, baba hata uende ukae hapo.
Uliendaje State House?
Hata kamera ikumulike tu. Yes, our group was invited and we went there. Yes.
Kulikuwa pikipiki mingi tuliona pale.
Pikipiki zilikuwa pale, lakini ukumbuke si zote zilipeana baba. Na saa hii nasikia watu wanapigiwa simu akirudisha wafanye transfer ya logbook. Ukirudisha inabaki huko.
Ngoja, so ulienda upewe pikipiki.
Yes, nilikuwa na hiyo intention.
So mliambiwaje ni nani na nani walipewa na nani walitoka na pikipiki? What was the conversation? Mliambiwa nini?
Sasa shida ilikuwa pale, walisema kila mtu, unaambiwa wenye wao viongozi wetu wanaongeanga, we have enough borders, everyone will be given. Tukakuwa settled and we had peace. Sasa eventually hatukujua pale State House inalindwa na wanajeshi, hatukujua inalindwa na reke, hatukujua inalindwa na NIS. Sasa wakati unaambiwa hivyo, unaambiwa sasa nyinyi endeni msimame pale mungojee pale. Tunaletewa pikipiki zenu. Ukitoka tu ukikanyaga pale, no reverse. No reverse. Wewe umeenda.
So ulifika hapo kaambiwa hakuna kurudi, hakuna pikipiki.
Hakuna kurudi, walisema wewe enda utapatanga huko mbele. Sasa mpaka saa hii I'm still crying nipate pikipiki. Sijawahi pata.
Huko mbele ilikuwa wapi? Wakisema utakuja kuchukua pikipiki?
Hakuna. Na ule mwingine kijana mwingine nimekuwa naye juzi, alipewa ndio akakuja naye. Amepigiwa simu juzi ati aenda afanywe transfer logbook.
Arudishe pikipiki?
Aenda afanywe transfer logbook. Akaambiwa transfer inachukua 2 days. After kwenda 2 days, wanamwambia hakuna, ofisi ilifungwa. So hatujui ilikodeshwa hiyo siku, aenda I don't know. I may not explain more than
I have an extension of that question, maybe to even from him and to the rest. When you talk about the economy, ni rahisi sana kufikiria zile vitu kubwa kubwa. We just start with the house economy. Budget yenu kwa nyumba, and I'm thinking most of you mko na watoto na unaenda shule. Tukianza na swali ya kwanza, very basic. Are you having 3 meals in a day? unaweza ku afford kunywa chai, lunch na ukule sapa. Na watoto mnapa hata mjakunywa chai.
Hiyo swali ni mzuri. Kusema kweli, Kenya saa hii huwezi kula meal 3. Huwezi.
So asubuhi hujakunywa kitu
Kitu ya kwanza kama umemiss kabisa ile breakfast, unavumilia saa zingine ka lunch, utafute kitu ya 50 ama wakukatie mandazi pale kwa kibanda, wakuwekee kale kasupu juu hivyo.
Kasupu kama haragwe kale.
So economy kusema ukweli ni mbaya. Alafu nimesikia ndugu yangu amelia mambo ya State House. Hata mimi nacheka tu hapa. Ile kitu president niliwaambia kona good idea. Lakini watu wenye wana implement ni watu wengine wabaya sana. Because waliweka empowerment kwa MPs. So unapata MP lazima atachukua guns wake wenye wanampigiaga makofi ndiye atapeleka huko. Unapata hata mtu mwenye aendeshi bodaboda amepewa bodaboda. Unapata mama kama huyu ajui hata clutch iko wapi, lakini ako na pikipiki. Ukienda hapa Dagoretti, because mimi niliwaambia natembea na mimi ndio super chairman, hakuna mwingine, ni mimi tu. Hapa Dagoretti South kuna kikundi ya bodaboda ilikuja kuripoti kwangu. Paka nikasema ningekuwa lawyer ningeenda mahakamani. Walikuja wakaniambia, chairman, tunataka usaidizi yako. Mpaka saa hii sijawapea jibu. Wakaniambia tulienda State House. Kwanza tuliitishwa certificate na MCA na majina na kila kitu na bank statement tukampatia. Wakatuambia tutaenda State House. Yes, jina liweka, tukaenda State House. Kufika State House chenye tuliona, tulitoka huko na machozi. Majina ya certificate yetu ndio watu wenye ameweka, MCA ameweka pale, ameweka wanawake ndiye alipea mapigipiki. Sisi wenye bodaboda hiyo kikundi yetu hatukupata kitu hata moja. Wewe unadhani huyo mwana bodaboda pale yako anasikia namna gani? Hiyo ndio kesi zenye ziko huko nje. Ndugu yangu anasema kuna mwenye anaambiwa apeleke. So sometimes president ukitaka kufanya kitu, wacha kutumia hawa ma MCA na ma MP. Enda kwa ground wewe mwenyewe, kuwa kama Magufuli. Enda uliza ni nini yenye inaendelea kwa ground, because hawa watu ni conman. Wanachukua hizo vitu, wanapea mabibi zao. Unasikia wanang'ang'ania hizo vitu. Unapata kwanza niko sure vitu zenye zilikuwa za, because pale State House kuna vitu zilikuwa paka za mamilioni. Wewe unataka kusema MCA aone kitu yenye ina worth 2 million anataka kukupatia? How? Sitapea watu wenye wanampigia makofi akijua ako kwa hiyo kikundi ama ataenda kuiiba. So tujaribu tuangalie kama ni kupeana, tupee kwa watu diligent. Because unapata hata groups zenye zilienda huko zingine ni vitu zenye ziliformiwa usiku. Because kitu ilishatoka hivyo. Na tunajua tena ingine inakuja itafanywa tu hivyo. So tunakashifu hiyo kitendo, waache kuharibia president jina. President ni mtu muungwana na tunajua akikuwa na watu wenye wanaweza kumsaidia kama mimi super chairman ataenda mbele sana.
All right, I think we also just listen to her in terms of, are you able to maintain your quality of life having 3 meals a day, the basic things?
Hiyo inabidi saa zingine niseme hata watoto saa zingine tunasaidiwa juu ya chakula ingine inapeanwa hapo. Na tap to eat, sijui kama mmeisikia. Tap to eat. Sasa watoto wetu hatujafanikiwa kuwapeleka hizi ma private, so wako public. So wako kwetu. Kama si hiyo, maybe tungekuwa tunaumia. So mimi nikikuja hapa hata sijakunywa chai. Okay, si sana ati jua ni vile nimekuja, but wacha niseme kuna time inafika unaona wacha nikule hapa saa 10. Ndio at least hata ukipata kitu kingine ni maisha imeendelea. So inakuwa gumu kabisa. Kwa hiyo hali mambo ni magumu. Lakini kuna hata kama kuna hivyo, kuna kitu kingine nilikuwa nauliza about hii taxation. Kuna vile inaweza implementiwa, yani tuseme sasa mimi nimelipia kitunguu, kuna time nyingine tunaendeanga side ya Swam Uganda. Tukilipia kitunguu Swam kitambo ifike hapa unapata ile pesa umetumia kwa barabara ni mingi sana. Juu kila mahali kuna mahali unafika unaambiwa ile umelipa kidogo inafaa ikuwe juu. Hiyo net nikifikisha hapo kwa soko, immediately nimefikisha kwa soko. Nimelipa tax, nimelipia cess, lakini kufika tu hapo napatana na kajua ananiambia nilipe 40 bob kwa kila bag. So inabidi mnegotiate mpaka mkosane. Kwa nini hii tax inakuwa mingi sana? Huko ndio pesa yetu pia inapotelea sana. So tunaweza penda sana tuangaliliwe hapo. Leo asubuhi nikikuja Jumii, mtu wa soko ni wa soko tu.
Na Mary, ukihesabu hiyo tax inaingia kwa hiyo 60 bob, sasa unauza kitunguu nayo. Sasa ama inaingia kwa hiyo 100.
Kuna ile imeingia, lakini bado tukifika huku tunafikiwa tu. Lori tu isimame ama hiyo gari tu kidogo isimame hapo. Wanaona tu ni pesa. So tunaumia.
Yaani ni kutoka Uganda, gari kikuja unaenda ukilipa. Nani hao unalipa?
Nikifika pale naambiwa hiyo ulikuwa account nyingine. Hii ni account nyingine. So hata kama sijaandikiwa, inabidi sasa niingie kwa mfuko ndio nikubaliwe kupita. Nikifika tena mahali napeleka kwa soko, ile ikiangaliwa hii ilikuwa ya Swam. Huko ni mbali sana. So hapa ndio hii soko. Mpaka kuna siku nikauliza mmoja wao, nikamuuliza, "Kwani mnatulipisha mpaka parapara kupitia? Juu kama unasema kupita Roy kwenda hivi lazima nilipe." Kwani tunalipishwa mpaka kupitia tunalipishwa? So ni tax. Kwani hii tax tunafaa kulipa mara ngapi? So tunaumia sana ikifika ni taxation. Kama venye nilikuwa nakuelezea, nikikuja mimi mtu wa soko ni wa soko tu, lazima nipite hivi. Napata mtu wamehandana wakiwa wawili hapo, Kajo na mzee mwingine. Yeye alitumana mwenye kununua nyanya, alinunua nyanya na akalipia tax. Says loli yake mzima. Huyu mzee ameagushiwa tu crate moja ya nyanya. Sasa anahando hapo. Lazima ulipie hii crate hapa ya nyanya. Alafu anaenda kumoa kwa kibada. Hapo kwa kibada bado kuna ile 50 bob inapitangwa kila wiki. Kila wiki kuna ile 50 bob unalipa. Sasa hata nimemuuliza mzee, hata nyinyi mnakula sana, ndio maana hata amnoni. Unajua ni kwa nini? Na si kwa ubaya. Si kwa ubaya. Ni kwa nini? Hii imelipiwa ses. Haya, umekuja umemlipisha hapa na unaona anamwaga pale na kesho unaendea 50 bob. Kwani huyu anakula faida ya pesa ngapi? So tunaumia. Hii tax inatumika vibaya. Hata wenye waangalie sana, tunaumizwa na sijui nitasema aje. Tunaumia kabisa. Wanatuumiza. Tunaumia. Hata hatuwezi endelea. Wenye wako na pesa ndio watapata. Juzi nilikuwa naona ni kuzuri nichukue karoli ya loan. At least nikuwe nalipa. Saa hii sijui hata katakujua lini. Juu pesa yangu yote yenye naweza save inaingia tu mahali kuingia. Hatuwezi, sisi tuko chini kuamuka. Ni Mungu tu atatusaidia.
So we've heard about a taxation that is a problem. We've also heard about individuals being unable to afford the basic necessities. Ndu, I take it back to you.
Well, so Prof, this is what we're looking at, Dr. that it's the situation whereby it's tough, and not wanting to glorify any situation, but it's the fact that you're not going to make up when you're hungry for any kind of, attention, because what good does it do, right? So what are we looking at? He said we're going to fix the economy, and he said we fixed it by, working on the numbers. But this is the situation on the ground. Can't take a loan, can't buy food, can't do 1, 2, 3. As you wrap up this conversation, what would the outlook then look? We looked at what it is. What can it look like?
I think for me, I would first of all say that we need to actually tell the government that anytime the economy is not doing well, the people who are affected most are the common mwananchi. And I'll tell you why they are affected most. Because they have no other way of making money. Majority of the middle class, na hawa watu wako juu, they have the money market, they have the fixed deposit account, they can actually lend the money to the government and all that, and therefore they are able to actually cushion themselves kidogo. Kwa kama sasa ukiweka pesa kwa money market unapata 20,000 zako 30,000. Huyu mtu wa kawaida yeye hana any other option, and that is why we are saying that we must make the economy work. And how are we going to make the economy work? Hawa watu lazima wakuwe na pesa kwa mkono yao. Consumption, we must make these people consume, because it is only when these people consume that we increase the demand of goods and services, na tunaamusha industries inaamushwa na nyinyi kwa watu kukula. One of the reasons as to why some of the companies leave, like I'll give you an example, some companies have left to Egypt. Why? Because they calculate the consumption rate of Kenyans to about 500 shillings. Wanaangalia ile kitu wana produce, wanaona ni chocolate. Wanasema chocolate, before huyu mtu ako na consumption ya 500 per day akule chocolate, afadhali tupeleke Egypt tubakisha kampuni kadogo hapa, wale watu walikuwa wameemploy consumption. People must have money in their pocket, and that will open up the economy and grow the economy.
People need to have money in the pocket. And this has been the conversation around Spice Baraza today. Necessary for us to talk about these things because that's the situation. Two things happen when we have a conversation. We keep talking or something is done. So thank you all of you for being here this morning. And of course, we will. To keep the conversation live, necessary for us to continue talking. And of course, we want to say a thank you for helping us to move the conversation along this morning, Dr. David Kabata, who is an economist. Asante sana for being here on the Situation Room this morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.